if you're like, oh, this is a Keith Hamilton graded 10, people are going to be like, well, what's that? That's not worth anything to me. You have to
Maybe not now.
maybe not yeah, you
now.
could be onto something. Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Hearthstone, all these TCGs at one point have had really big boom periods, and right now Pokemon is going absolutely insane. So today I'm going to be talking with Keith about the craziness that is currently the Pokemon TCG. So welcome everyone to another edition of A Cast to the Pass. I am Ryan McNulty, come from Boston, Massachusetts. Joining me, as previously mentioned, Keith Hamilton. Keith?
Hi. I wasn't sure if I could talk yet, because you know how you're not, it's like podcast rule that you're not supposed to talk until you're introduced. So I'm like, does that one count? Can I speak yet?
Is it your turn?
Yeah, can I present myself at this point? But now I can for sure present myself, so consider me presented.
All right. Well, now that we got that out of the way, the Pokemon TCG has absolutely exploded in the last year. I'm going to kind of get into that and how this all started, but...
So to clarify, because this is I did an episode a couple of weeks ago available in the archive about Lego and how I've gotten into Lego a lot, in a big way over this pandemic. This is your thing now, the Pokemon TCG. Yes. You're in the weeds on this one.
Oh yeah, this is my throwing money into the fire hobby right now, so...
Mm-hmm. But is it though? Because I've been looking around and there seems like some hot Skrilla that can be made with this right now.
Oh yeah, there's some money, but nothing with what I have is gonna really, at least at the present moment. But I do have some things that I'm doing, as far as investments. I know there's a lot of people out there telling people, million YouTube channels on investing in Pokemon. That's obviously not what we're here to do today, but some of the things that I'm doing with the card game I'll definitely get into. But before we get into all of that, I think it's best to kind of take a step back, which was what we always do on this podcast, and look into the past. And first asking you, Keith, because I know you're a big Pokemon fan like me, so what was your experience 1998 through 2000, whenever you fell out of it, the Pokemon from the TCG perspective? What was your childhood experience with Pokemon cards?
I feel like I have the same experience that every 90s kid has, where there was a hot minute when those cards first came out that everyone was collecting them. Everybody brought them to school. It became that hot thing on the playground if you were in elementary school, and then everybody was trading in my circles. Nobody really knew what to do with these cards, how to actually battle, but it was all about God, if you had that Zapdos, you were king of the mountain. If you were that Charizard, you were basically royalty. And that it was really big for the first edition for me. I think I ended up collecting the entire first edition of cards. But once we got to the second edition and the third edition, the new sets, then that's when it kind of dropped off. That's when
So do you mean first edition as in the base set, the
first set, the first the first
I was
run.
If you have the full original set in all first edition cards, then I'd be very impressed. But
but by first set, because I know there was a first edition. I remember some of my cards having that little stamp in the corner of it that said first edition. But I mean the first set. And then after a while, when the second and third set coming out, I started to drop off and became more interested in finding things to actually do with these cards. And at that point, when I started to learn how to actually play those TCGs competitively, that's when I started leaning more towards things like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! And found more enjoyment with that than the Pokemon TCG, just because I don't know exactly why now that I'm thinking about it. I think it was one of those things as you grow up and you become more of a piece of crap teenager, it's Pokemon, that's the baby thing. And then all my friends got into Magic, so I'm well, I guess I need to get into Magic the Gathering too.
Yeah, I think that's how it was for a lot of kids. I myself had a similar experience. That fateful Christmas, I got both red, blue, and the Pokemon card starter deck. So that was just
Jesus.
that was a home run.
Somebody
Christmas.
grew up rich.
I really didn't, but that was a particularly great Christmas. So
that would be a top 5 for sure.
Absolutely. And I remember, I never pulled a Charizard from a booster pack. I had to trade to get one. That was the thing. I remember booster packs, like, for whatever reason at that time, like I remember asking my mom to get me a booster pack, and I already had that starter deck, and she came home and she brought me another of the same starter deck. So I had two.
No, you didn't have to do this.
So it's like now I had 2 of those Holo Machamp cards that came with the starter deck.
Oh, right.
The time, though, I do remember getting booster packs, though, was a little bit later. A friend of mine said, "Oh, hey, this certain mall, they have the Japanese booster packs." So we went down there and we bought a couple of the Japanese things. So I was one of the first kids to have the Japanese cards, which some of the cards weren't even out yet for, the United States yet.
That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I used a bunch of those Japanese cards to get my way into getting a Charizard. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the Charizard I got was like beat to shit. It was just in terrible condition.
Also, minus the Japanese cards, I also had that experience. I had an Arcanine, and that was somebody's favorite Pokemon. So I don't know how I pulled this off at a young age, but I'm like, hey, I'll give you this Arcanine. You love it so much, and Charizard's my favorite, so I'll trade you this Arcanine for a Charizard.
Ooh.
And they went with it, but again, it was a beaten up, broken down
Charizard.
But damn it, I had it. The
Arcanine wasn't even hollow, so you got him.
Yeah, that must have been like my first hustle as a kid.
Yeah. And so with that, like you, I was the same way. I think I tried to play the game once and was just like, I don't really care. It was all about collecting. But then later on, I did get into Yu-Gi-Oh! In like 2003 and ended up, playing that pretty competitively. There was a local tournament I would go to almost every single weekend. So I was all in during the Yu-Gi-Oh! Days. And I did have in college, kind of a resurgence of getting back into Pokemon, playing Ruby and Sapphire, and then Pokemon Platinum when that came out. And with that, I remember in college, there was a Christmas party I was supposed to go to, and there was a Yankee swap gift thing that we were doing. So I went to a Walgreens and I picked up this Charizard tin. And it was meant to be as like a joke, kind of funny Yankee swap gift. Like, it'll be funny to give someone like a Charizard. And I didn't end up going to that party for whatever reason. So I still had the tin, and I just gave it to my friend who has a bunch of Pokemon cards. Like, he still had his collection from when he was a kid. Mine got lost in the move or thrown out or whatever, unfortunately.
Yeah, same here. I don't know where mine is anymore, and boy, am I kicking myself for that.
It makes me sad. It makes me sad, but it is what it is. Anyway, so I gave him that tin, and he, it kind of sparked some nostalgia for him. So he dug out all of his old Pokemon cards, and then he invited a bunch of us over, and we all just made our own decks and did this big tournament. And it was like a ton of fun. So naturally, then we started going out and buying more Pokemon cards. And this is during like the Diamond and Pearl.
Classic enabling.
Oh, yeah. So it was like one little thing that was supposed to be a joke ended up sparking this whole thing. And so for that summer, we were just buying Pokemon cards and building decks and playing each other. And it was so much fun. And now come to find out with this current boom of Pokemon cards that era of cards that we were buying was actually a low point for the TCG. So a lot of those cards that we were buying are actually really hard to find now. And I believe my friend still has a bunch of them. So that's pretty awesome that we were able to kind of pick some of those cards up that might actually have some value now, because they didn't print a lot of them because the demand was a lot lower. So that's gonna kind of transition into what's going on now, because
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure
let
you're
me
hearing all
ask
these
this
buzzing.
question.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let me ask this question, because it seemed like it happened damn near overnight. And I understand that, like, I might be a little closer to it just being your friend, but out of nowhere it seemed like everybody started talking about Pokemon TCG again and opening booster packs and trying to find shiny versions of these cards, like to the point where now I see like some of the biggest streamers on Twitch just doing like pack opening streams and then like destroying these cards for fun or whatever they're end up doing. So what happened?
Yeah.
Why did this happen? Is this like a pandemic thing, like how everybody kind of has a hobby and then everybody's remembering their childhood and they're going like Pokemon cards? Or what caused this like societal switch to flip? Because it just seemed like it came out of nowhere.
The answer may surprise you. The answer is Logan Paul, of all things. But that is really,
you know, I should feel surprised about that, but I don't.
Yeah. That is one of the big things. So I think two things happened. First of all, 2016 was also a kind of Pokemon resurgence, because that's when Pokemon Go came out. So with
that was another thing that was the hottest thing on the planet for a minute.
The TCG actually did get a bump in 2016. So that might have been kind of like the precursor. And that's why we got this set that came out around then called XY Evolutions, which was like a reprint of the original base set. It had a lot of those cards like redone. And now, right now, that set, even though for a while, like you could get it anywhere, they were throwing it in everything, and now people are after that set because the nostalgia's back big time. But basically what's happened was Logan Paul, because he, you know, as a kid was into Pokemon and he wanted to recapture that nostalgia, he bought a sealed first edition base set booster box for like 300K, something like that, or 200K.
Good lord!
And what he did was,
and you're talking about like the packs that like had Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise on them, like the ones that I used to go to 7-Eleven and buy.
Base set is that first set that we opened up as a kid, and so he had the first edition. So that's you know, if you hear about the 300K Charizard being sold, it's the first edition base set Charizard. That's the card they're talking about. And he opened that box up, but what he did was, instead of, you know, taking that full burden on financially on himself, he sold individual packs to other people who wanted to buy in. And now it's a thing they call,
as an influencer would do.
Yes.
They influence people to buy things.
So they call these box breaks, which, so not one person is taking on the full cost of a lot of these old boxes. And now this is like a thing that's happening everywhere. So once people saw him opening it up, and they had this guy who was really pumping up the value of a lot of these cards, saying like, oh, this common Bulbasaur first edition, if it's graded, like you take it to a place called, you know, PSA. I'm sure you've heard like PSA 10, this term getting thrown around.
Yeah.
If it's graded and it's deemed like, oh, this is a flawless card, it's worth, like, he said like, oh, it's worth 10, 20, 30K. That ended up being a meme. Like, that Bulbasaur it's worth a decent amount, more than you probably think, but it's not worth anywhere near that. No. But anyway, that hyped up.
Let's be real, that would be a crazy person. Like, I could understand like the big cards of that set being worth that much, like we mentioned earlier, your Charizards, but that Bulbasaur, maybe not.
Yeah, well, surprisingly though, if you have like a first edition of a Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and you do send it out, you get it graded and it comes back at 10, then yes, it actually can be worth over $1,000, which is surprising for a common card. But again, first edition is what matters. Those, what they call unlimited, the non-first edition, like so many people have good conditions of those in their basement everywhere. So you can send it to get it graded. You might be able to get
God, I'm so mad. I don't know where mine are. You know,
you'll be able to get some money for those cards, but not nearly what everyone thinks you would get. And even like hey, if it comes right out of a pack, it's going to be a 10, right? No, there's certain things about the way that it comes out. like the way it's centered on the card itself. So even a pack fresh card isn't guaranteed to be a 10. There's
And I
certain
remember
things,
the edges being like a contention point where
Exactly.
in like even back in the day when I would get these booster packs, sometimes you would have like whitening on the edges of them.
Yep, though that all matters. So if there's any of that, it can get knocked down a point or two. So people who think, oh, just because I got it fresh out of a pack, it's automatically a 10. No, that's not the case. And right now, all these people are just finding out about grading. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing until this all blew up. And now the companies that do the grading, you have to wait like basically a year to get your card back. They're so backed up because everyone is just flooding them, thinking all of their cards are going to be worth millions of dollars. So it's just been this huge explosion.
Maybe that's the angle. Maybe it's not trying to search these cards. Maybe I should just go get licensed to grade things and then charge a fee.
Well, you gotta build up quite a reputation. There's like a new,
when it's in such a high demand, do you though?
I don't know. I mean, there's only like 3 companies right now, so people only want to buy the cards if they're coming from these like reputable people that do the grading. So, it's these big companies, but yeah, I don't know too much about it other than like, if you're like, oh, this is a Keith Hamilton graded 10, people are going to be like, well, what's that? That's not worth anything to me. You have to.
Maybe not now. Maybe not now.
You could be onto something. But
so that's where that's the whole boom that's happening right now. Where does Ryan McNulty fit into all this?
So where I come in was, so I didn't watch Logan Paul because that's just not my thing. But I did see other streamers that I was watching. Like I've Ms. Kiff is someone on Twitch that I've watched. He speedruns Mario 64 and does a bunch of other just random kind of just chatting, acting like an idiot. But he's always been into like video games and Pokemon, collecting like sealed boxes of like N64 games and stuff like that. But he was opening up like Team Rocket booster boxes and then he started opening more stuff. So that kind of got me initially interested in it. And then going through the YouTube rabbit hole, there's a guy named PokeRev who does these live openings every single week. He opens up a vintage booster box and he'll open up, current cards.
That's God. Yeah. I don't even want to wrap my head around
his collection. If you just watch a video of his, you will see in the background he's got a sealed box of every single like set that's ever come out for Pokemon, and he's got like Pokemon Stadium still sealed, like all this stuff. He has a Snap Station. He's got a crazy collection, and that's just, he has like other warehouses of stuff that like it's insane. But yeah, it's just completely taken over. And so just for the fun of it and for wanting to kind of get back into it and wanting to get a couple of these cards that I haven't gotten, I was like, oh, let me try and get some evolutions, because you can get a Charizard that's the same artwork, but it doesn't cost you as much money. You don't have to shell over, thousands of dollars just to get this card.
And is that reprint you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, okay. So I did end up getting a reverse holo version, meaning like the border and everything outside the picture is holo. I ended up actually getting a second one. I have 2 of these now, but they do have the regular holo version of it, but it is the original artwork of Charizard that you've seen from base set. And it's really, really cool. And even that, if you're able to, again, like the whole grading process, it can be worth a lot of money because they made the set like crap. So if you get one that's actually like centered well and isn't like scuffed, then it actually can be worth a lot of money. But another thing I was into was there's a couple sets where you can get a shiny Charizard. And that is
so let's pause right there for a second, because in Pokemon, for those who don't know, like there's the normal Pokemon, and then there's this variant of it, this extremely rare variant called a shiny, like with the example of Charizard. Instead of the typical orange, he's black now. And then you told me that this happens in Pokemon cards. And my jaw nearly hit the floor. Because, I mean, like, I guess so. But this seems like the work of crazy people. Because, on average, like, I've done some shiny hunting now in Sword and Shield. Because those are, like, the Pokemon games I've gravitated to the most. Your odds of getting a shiny are, like, 1 in 600 around there.
Well, it's now with... Yeah. Well, I was going to say, depending on the way that you try and go for the shiny.
There's money involved with this. Like, I can just sit there and it's just time, and eventually I'm going to find the thing that I want. You have to open packs for this shiny, and that seems insane when you're adding monetary value to that.
Well, the odds aren't... I mean, the odds, maybe it is like 1 in 600 packs, something around that for a shiny Charizard.
So that's about $6,000 worth of packs, is it not? I just want to make sure I have the math right in my head.
Depending on which set it is. So there's, and even before this boom, this set that came out, it's called Hidden Fates. It came out, I believe, it came out sometime in 2019. And I was into other stuff in Pokemon at the time, so I was listening to a podcast, and they talked about the set. So once I heard about it, and the fact that you could get a shiny Charizard, I actually bought just one tin that comes with like 4 packs, because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. And this was well before, any of this boom. And I got a shiny Eevee, which was cool, and that's cool. It's worth about $20. So hey, whatever.
So if shinies are only worth like $20, then they're not as rare as they are in like the game versions. So there's special sets. Then.
So this set that that came out in 2019 called Hidden Fates, it was a super popular set because they had some like lesser rare shinies in it that were it was just the picture itself. And not like a full art card, because that's a thing now. They have these cards that are like the art takes up the majority of the card, and it looks really, really cool. And the really rare ones were like the full art shinies, but they had like kind of the smaller shinies in there too, just so it's like you always it made you feel like a winner more often because they'd pack in a lot of stuff. So they're not like they're not as rare as the video games, and it's like a special set made for it. And that's,
so are they basically like that edition's holographic cards then?
Yes,
because like I remember back in the day, like, oh, you pulled a holographic, that was cool. That you felt like you got something very cool.
Things have gotten a lot more complicated now. There's not just your regular cards in your holographics. Now you have, so you have your regular cards, then you have the reverse holo, which I was talking about, where the picture is normal, but the rest of the card is actually shiny. Then you have your standard holographics. Those still exist, but those are considered like not even good anymore. A regular holographic is now like lame, unless it's one of these shinies I'm talking about. And then you have your ultra rares, which it's like a bigger art that takes up most of it. And then they have like the full art version, which it takes up even more of the card. And then they have the secret rare version, which is like a rainbow. It's like a rainbow effect. So in Sword and Shield, the big fat Pikachu, the Dynamax Pikachu.
Yeah.
They have a rainbow rare version of that in the newest set that came out, and that's like the big chase card. Like it's worth like $300 right now, even though it's not even like an old set. So there's a lot of it can get really confusing because it's not just simply a holo and a non-holographic. They have a lot more stuff going on. But anyway, that Hidden Fates set that I was talking about, it was impossible to find anything for a while, and then they just recently did a reprint, and I had to spend quite a pretty penny to get this Elite Trainer box I have here, which they're usually meant to be like a starter kit kind of thing, but most people buy them because you can get 10 packs in them. So it's like these sets that they come out with, these special ones, they don't have a booster box variation. So most of the time a set comes out, and if you want to go all in, you'll buy a booster box, right? So you can get 36 packs. It's like kind of the most, if you want to buy a lot of packs, it's like the most efficient way to get them.
I remember there was a point in my life where I was buying the World of Warcraft card game booster boxes just for a chance at the in-game codes.
Yeah. Did you get a spectral tiger?
I did not get a spectral tiger, but I got a broom, and I felt pretty good about that.
You gotta love that broom.
It was like $70, so yes, I do love that broom.
So yeah, these special sets they come out with every once in a while, they don't have booster boxes. So that makes everyone like buy all these elite trainer boxes and all these special other like tins and things like that.
So what's the difference between a booster box and an elite trainer box? Like, is that like the starter set style
an
thing
elite
these
trainer
days,
box,
or?
it's sort of like a starter set. Although they do have like the regular starter decks. I think they're starting to phase those out though, because like nobody really wants them anymore. The elite trainer box, it comes with sleeves for your cards. It comes with a bunch of energies. It comes with like dice and like the little counter things you use that are part of the game. The special elite trainer boxes, like I said, for like hidden fates, comes with a sweet promo card. This one had the legendary birds, and it's like a stained glass window with all 3 legendary birds on it. So
that's
it's like
pretty cool.
It's really cool. And then you get the 10 packs. And it's like the MSRP price is $50. But the way that the market is, and because you can't get these in stores, they're just impossible to find because scalpers are coming in and they're buying everything up. If you try, like, these are going for $130 online, so like
that's
almost
crazy.
Triple the price. I bought these 2 of these for $100, so double the price, and that was considered a good deal.
I'm just gonna roll right past that one and let the people at home make their assumptions. But that kind of leads into the next question I had, where like you can find Pokemon cards everywhere if you're looking for them. Like maybe not so right now because, you know, everything's kind of like up on its head. Mm-hmm. But like I went to Costco the other day and I saw like a box of Pokemon cards.
Can you buy them for me?
Should I have let
Costco
you know?
Is all out.
Mm-hmm. But like I can go to, I don't know if it's the case now, but I remember going to a dollar store and finding like, here's a pack of 9 random Pokemon cards. Like, are those worth value? Like, is it just like a pick up anything you can find because you'll get a return on it?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. So this Elite Trainer box that I have, I still have one. I bought 2, so one I'm keeping sealed, but the one I opened, so it's $100. Do I have $100 in value from what I opened? Absolutely not. The promo card is worth some money because it's really cool and people want it, and these things are hard to find. But most of the time, unless you get one of the big top cards, you're not getting that value back. However, if there is a desired set and you buy the packs and then you want to like hold on to them for a couple of years and then resell them, you can definitely make some money that way. And that's why part of this is I'm kind of building up a sealed collection. And this is something I've thought about doing for years, and I kicking myself for not starting sooner. I always knew that a lot of these old cards appreciated, especially like a sealed booster box. And I always thought like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon, maybe I should just, every time a set comes out, just buy a booster box and stash it away and just forget about it. And then eventually I can sell them all. And I thought about doing this like 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm kicking myself for not doing it because now everyone's kind of smarting up to it and that's what everyone's doing. But nevertheless, I'm still doing it because there's a lot of, like I said, these desired sets and I'm hanging on to it. But most of the time, you're not going to, if you open a pack, unless you get one of these top cards. And some sets, the best card you can get is only worth like $30. But other sets, like I said, that Pikachu, it's worth $300. So you can end up making some decent money. But even those dollar store packs, they come with, a lot of them just come with 3 cards in a pack, and you're not guaranteed a rare. So a lot of times you're like, those kind of suck. But because they're only $1, you can buy a crap ton of them, and they can have literally any card in the entire set. So you can still pull the rarest card ever from the dollar packs. It's just odds are against you. But I've gotten some pretty sweet pulls from the dollar pack. So they can be, if you want to just rip packs, you can spend $30 and just get 30 of these like little packs. It's pretty fun to open them.
It's fascinating to me because if you replace the words Pikachu card with like stock, you're pretty much talking about the stock market.
Oh yeah. and one thing to actually talk about it, and the current thing as of it's kind of already settled down as of this recording, but I'm starting to get into kind of selling cards now. Because I'm still collecting all the sets, but if I have duplicates, especially duplicate of like an ultra rare card, like I might as well sell it.
There's no reason not to flip
try and
that,
recoup
especially
some
if
of the
there's
money.
a demand there.
So right now there's a boom because people on YouTube just like hype up these cards. So it's almost like these pump and dump schemes are going on, where there's a lot of these full art supporter cards. And I have a couple of them. They have ones that's like Giovanni. It's like a full like art picture of Giovanni, or one of like red.
That's like a trainer style card.
Like the trainer.
It's not a Pokemon, but it's a character from the series
exactly.
or the
so
games.
There's like a card
whatever.
I have called Giovanni's Exile, and it's like it's a trainer card like you would have in the game, but it's a full picture of Giovanni like holding up a Pokeball. So you're like, oh, cool. That's like a really sweet card because it just looks nice to have like on your shelf or whatever. Now, there's a lot of these, like Misty and like all the female characters. So for what people call them, the waifu cards. Anyway, people have been buying those up, and they're, believe it or not,
I hate the internet, man.
Yeah, because
sometimes. Oh my god.
Because of how people are, those cards have blown up in value. And when some of these were blowing up, I was looking at some of the cards like on TCG Player where you can buy a lot of single cards. And I picked out a few cards that like were still only $3 to $5. And I bought those cards. I haven't even gotten them yet, and they've already tripled in value. So,
wow. And
I bought multiple copies of most of them. So I'll probably keep one of each, and I'm going to sell them right back. So there's kind of a like day trader version of this. If you want to play that game, it's a dangerous game to play. But if you think like something, you can kind of speculate, you're going to take some losses, but
of course, it's like that with anything though.
Right now, because it's so crazy, that things are like values are going crazy. So there's money to be made if you really want to get into it, but it's definitely a dangerous game. The safest thing you can do is if you're trying to like make money it's play the long game, buy some booster boxes, put them in a closet, forget about it, and then maybe, check in 5 years and see what the value is, because most of these booster boxes, once they go out of print, will almost always increase in value.
Let me tell you about Lego investment sets. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Mine's just in brick form right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like anything that's collectible. So if you have like a Star Wars set and you want to buy one for fun and one to just stash away and have perfect sealed condition, someone will want to buy it, They'll be like,
it's true,
I had that set when I was a kid and I destroyed it, and then now they want to buy it. So it's someone who got that as a kid for their birthday this year. In 10 years, maybe they want to like take a trip down memory lane and they find like a perfectly sealed one. There's money there.
Mm-hmm. It's not totally applicable, but the theory of like one man's trash is another man's treasure is basically what that is. Like, it might not mean much to you, but to somebody else it could mean the world. Like, to me, the number one Pokemon card is that first set holographic Zapdos. Like, I remember mowing lawns for months and then trying to save up enough money so I could go to my local comic shop that sold Pokemon cards and buy that holographic Zapdos. That was the last card I needed to complete my set. Wow. I've always had that fond memory of that Zapdos card. So if I were to get something to sit on a shelf, it would be that card. Yeah. I imagine it's insanely expensive, and that's probably where the buck stops. But that same theory exists for like almost every card somebody else has that same experience for. So you're 100% right that there's like, it means something to somebody.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. The value is in the nostalgia and what people put it at, right? Because in that Zapdos, I have the Evolutions like reprinted version of it actually. But it really is the power of nostalgia, because if you look at it, right, Blastoise and Hitmonchan were more competitively viable cards back in 1999 than the Charizard card. But why is Charizard worth more? It's because Charizard was the most fondly remembered Pokemon.
To this day, Charizard is almost the mascot of Pokemon.
Yeah, it's Pikachu.
That's the
you got
cool
Pikachu
card.
and you got Charizard. Those are the two most popular Pokemon. Those are the top two most popular. And I know people love like Greninja and all that stuff these days, but hey, if you look at the value of the cards that are worth the most are the Pikachu cards and the Charizard cards. And it is that way for a reason, because of how
didn't
people value
Charizard
them.
have like the most attack, so they kind of artificially made him cool that way as well. He did like 120 damage.
Yeah, Charizard, I think he had like 120 HP and 150 attack. And even the Evolutions one, they made him stronger, because compared in today, like power creep of today's TCG, that would actually be considered weak. But I think it helped that if you looked in the starter deck in the manual, they had a picture of the Charizard card. So I think a lot of kids saw that.
They really just weighed the deck as much as they could in that direction.
It hyped people up to be like, I need to get that card.
Because I remembered seeing those numbers as a kid and going like, wow, that's so strong. I need to have that.
Even though it's probably, I think Charizard was a little bit like cumbersome to actually use with everything. And like Blastoise and Hitmonchan just ended up being better decks to run at the time. I had no idea because I was not in the competitive stuff. But again,
I was a dumb kid and I just wanted the big numbers. That's
exactly. It's the power of nostalgia that drives the value, and also just the rarity. If there's like a one-of-a-kind card, then that's going to be worth a ton. So that's the Pokemon TCG in a nutshell. I'm glad we could have this conversation.
You're going to have to let us know how this goes. Like I feel like I've sat under the learning tree and understand more about what this phenomenon goes, or like what's happening. But you're in the weeds, and I think we're going to have to do a follow-up to see like how this whole investment thing's going.
There's new sets coming out. There's a set similar to Hidden Fates coming out called Shining Fates, that's going to be all the Sword and Shield Pokemon with shiny variations. And also,
does that include like Galarian forms and that stuff, or
yeah, I believe so. I'm trying to think of some of the shinies. There's going to be like a shiny Crobat. There's the big one, of course. They have a Charizard, because Charizard's almost always like the big card. There's
but is it like or not Mega, but the
VMAX? It's a shiny,
the G-Max.
Yeah, the big one is a shiny. Yeah, they call it VMAX in the card game for whatever reason.
Okay.
But yeah, it's Gigantamax Charizard shiny, so it looks really, really cool. And there's going to be a ton of other shiny cards in it. So this is like the new big set that's coming out. Comes out next month, and it's difficult to even get like pre-orders right now. It's that insane. But you'll probably see it in stores. And if you want to have some fun, I suggest you pick that up, because it's going. If there was like a set, I would say like that's going to be reasonable to get and really, really fun to open, it's going to be this Shining Fates coming out next month. So that's the big thing going on right now.
If I see it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, yeah. If you're able to find it, I can. I do have one pre-order for some stuff, but other than that, it's been pretty difficult. But I'm glad I could kind of get you up to speed on the chaos that is the Pokemon TCG. But hey, it's something we can continue the conversation on the Discord. So if you'd like to join, I suggest you go to acastofthepast.com/Discord. We talk about not just TCG, but video games, food, everything. It's a ton of fun, and it's a great way to talk to us. Any specific episodes you want to dig a little bit more about our thoughts on things, or just let us know what games you're playing and like any games you picked up recently,
or if you
all
feel
sorts
like
of
just
things like that.
hustling cards to Ryan, if
Yeah.
you're like, hey, I got this Arcanine, you want it for $40, and then maybe you'll make a sale.
Depending on what it is, we'll talk. But thank you guys for joining us for another edition, and we'll see you next time on A Cast
To the
Past.
Gotta collect them all. I wanted to say that the whole episode. I couldn't fit it in, so I fit it in there.